Thank you very much. I'll try to be
Just in time.
which is unusual for me. Madam Attorney General, how bad is sequestration hurting your ability to defend the nation and protect us domestically and internationally if it goes back into effect?
Well, Senator, the most recent example of sequestration that we saw had the department losing approximately, I believe, 6,200 people, a combination of agents, attorneys, and staff members as well. And that is a loss from which we have yet to recover, quite frankly.
Would there be more losses coming if sequestration kicks back in?
There would be. There would be significant losses occurring, particularly at the investigative law enforcement level if sequestration were to occur. Again, this would severely limit our ability to deal with the emerging areas and the increasing area, expanding areas of cybercrime, in particular of international organized crime, and it would severely decrease our ability to provide the resources to our state and local counterparts that are so important to them as well. Our grants were cut in half during sequestration, and that was tremendously painful, not just for the department, but for those individuals who depend on those grants to fund operations and, frankly, help us with task force type operations.
Is the FBI fairly much under siege trying to track all the groups that could penetrate the homeland?
Well, the FBI will tell you that they will respond to every crisis, and they do. I'm tremendously proud of the work that they do. But the reason we are requesting more resources, particularly in the area of cybercrime, is because this is an area in which we need the resources to keep up with the technological capability of the criminals, which quite frankly is growing exponentially.
So let's talk about executive action. If the president tomorrow issued an executive order to transfer prisoners out of Guantanamo Bay, given the restrictions Congress has placed in the NDAA, would that be appropriate or lawful?
Well, Senator, I don't believe that's the president's intention at this point.
I know, but does he have that power?
Well, at this point, I have not been asked to opine on that by him, and certainly haven't provided advice on that.
Can I ask you to opine for me? You don't have to do it right this minute.
Well, thank you, sir. As I have indicated, the current state of the law prohibits those transfers, which is why the president is indicating he wants to work with Congress to look at those statutory issues.
Right. Did he talk to you? Did you have draft this proposal that was sent over?
No, sir. That was, I believe, the Department of Defense.
Did they talk to you at all?
No, I was not involved in those discussions.
Okay. Interesting. So I'm going to ask you, does he have that authority from the Attorney General's point of view? And you can just write back to me later. Is that fair?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Executive action. The president has given legal status to how many million people who are here illegally? 5, 6, 7?
I'm sorry, sir?
The DACA, the legal status given to illegal immigrants. How many people have been affected by his executive orders?
Sir, I don't have those numbers at the top of my head
Multiple.
right now.
There are two groups. There are the DACA kids who came here, small children, right?
Well, I believe that they would have deferred status.
Right. And now it's their families, is that right, what he did the second time?
Well, I believe that that particular action is currently enjoined, so none
But
of
he
the
tried
families
to do
there
it.
would have been provided.
But he
with
tried
those
to do
actions.
it, and the court said, slow down. Is that fair to say? That he's
What?
been enjoined from doing what he thought he could do?
Yeah, that injunction is.
He thought he had the legal authority. What limits would they be? Would they be on a president in terms of just giving legal status to people here legally? Are there any limits that you can think of?
Well, Senator, I certainly think that, as we've discussed previously, when it comes to the immigration laws, one starts with the statutes and then one looks at the court decisions. And as you craft policy, you would have to look at those particular issues as well as any applicable regulations to determine whether or not.
Is there
policy
any
would
court
conform.
decision that would allow the President of the United States, any president, to issue an executive order and say that 3 million people here legally now have legal status? Is there any Supreme Court case that would acknowledge Article I power to do that you know of?
Senator, I'm not aware if that issue's been presented to the court, and certainly so would not be able to give you that information now.
Okay. From your point of view, prosecutorial discretion is I could prosecute somebody, but I choose not to for a variety of reasons, right?
That's part of it, sir.
Okay. Isn't that different, isn't this different, saying, I'm not going to prosecute you because I choose not to, versus giving you legal status? Is that prosecutorial discretion, to give
Senator-
somebody legal status?
Senator, prosecutors do not have the authority to confer,
Right.
or take away in status regarding immigration or any other legal issue. That is determined by statute and by the courts.
What makes the president different than a prosecutor in that regard? What authority does he or she have to do that? Because prosecutorial discretion is not the legal basis. I think you're right about that, and I'll wrap this up. If you can't do it through prosecutorial discretion, a prosecutor can't, what authority does the chief executive have, inherent, statutory, or Supreme Court decision-wise, to allow him to do this?
When you say this, sir, what are we referring to?
What he did, give legal status to millions of people by executive action.
Well, Senator, I'm not aware if that's the actual result of that, and certainly I'd have to refer you to.
Well, I know our
to the
time's
cases that
up,
have been
but he
discussed.
did give legal status to millions of people who I'm willing to deal with through the statutory process. He did that, didn't he? The president.
I'm not able to give you a legal opinion on the effect.
I'm not asking you
as it
legal
relates to
advice,
those
I'm just saying
individuals
that's
at
what he
this time.
did. I mean, he did that. He issued an executive order saying, you can stay here. Didn't he?
Well, I'd have to refer you to the terms of the executive order.
Okay, all right, thank you.